With us now by phone is GNS Science duty volcanologist Michael Rosenberg. Good morning, Michael. I hear that this eruption caught everyone by surprise.
Well, it did really. We've been recording the small earthquakes underneath Tongariro for about the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we've seen those earthquakes declining, and apparently from that low level of background, all of a sudden we've got an eruption.
So this is the first eruption for Mt Tongariro in 100 years. The status update, it's gone from a 1 to a 2. What does that mean?
It means there's a significant local eruption going on, and accordingly there's a definite hazard in that area.
So is this over? What do you do now? How do you monitor the volcano's activities?
Well, we definitely can't say it's over. Certainly at the moment the activity is pretty quiet, but this might just be a quiet period, and we could expect it to start again at any time. So we're watching things very closely, and just keep everybody updated as things progress.
Obviously this eruption happened at 11:50 p.m. last night in the darkness. What did eyewitnesses say they saw and heard?
Well, we had reports from people living close to the area. They talked about seeing red-hot rocks flying through the air, hearing loud explosions, and then ash falling on the road north of Tongariro, and certainly on the desert road. We also had some reports from aviation traffic of quite high ash plumes. So, a small eruption, and it may have only lasted a few tens of minutes at this stage, but certainly exciting times for the people down there.
All right, Michael Rosenberg, volcanologist, thank you for that. Let's go now to Peter for more details.
Yes, good morning. Mt Tongariro in the central North Island has erupted overnight. The eruption occurred at 10 minutes to midnight at the Te Maari craters near the Ketetahi hot springs on the northern side of the mountain. No injuries or damage have been reported. Witnesses report red-hot rocks being thrown into the air, seeing lightning and hearing loud explosions. There is also a distinct smell of sulphur in the air. Around 5 centimetres of ash has fallen on State Highway 46 around Mt Tongariro. The road has been closed because of poor visibility, as has the desert road section of State Highway 1. GNS Science say the eruption was unexpected and it's unknown how it will progress. Scientists continue to monitor the situation. At this stage, Air New Zealand say it's not expecting any delays or cancellations to its domestic services as a result of the eruption. The last time Mt Tongariro erupted was in 1897. Our cameraman at the scene says it's very eerie around the mountain. The landscape is covered in ash.
Probably one of the first things you notice is that it has quite a distinctive smell. You can definitely smell the sulphur even though you can't see anything. It's quite an overcast night, so you can't really see the mountain at all, but you can definitely smell the sulphur as you get closer and closer to the mountain, especially around sort of Ketetahi Springs. As I say, just come through the closed road, State Highway 46, fairly decent amount of ash on the road, sort of a centimetre, a couple of centimetres, in and around the trees and stuff.
Now, Civil Defence says the volcanic activity could pose a threat to people in the Waikato, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, Manawatu, Wanganui, Bay of Plenty and Taranaki regions. It advises people living in or near the affected area to stay indoors. Doors and windows should also be closed. If caught in a volcanic ashfall, wear a dust mask or use a cloth over your nose and mouth. Effects of a volcanic eruption can be experienced many kilometres away from a volcano. There are no evacuation orders in place, but some people are choosing to leave the area. Scientists are closely monitoring the situation, and Civil Defence will hold a media briefing later on this morning.
An overnight eruption at Mt Tongariro has forced people out of their homes and prompted a warning from Civil Defence of an ash threat to much of the central North Island. The eruption occurred at the Te Maari craters, close to the Ketetahi hot springs on the northern side of the mountain. Department of Conservation staff and observers are mounting an aerial inspection of the area at first light this morning. Civil Defence says the volcanic activity could pose a threat to Waikato, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, Manawatu Whanganui, Bay of Plenty and Taranaki. The eruption at 11:50 last night has closed State Highway 1 across the Desert Road, and State Highway 46, Lake Rotoaira Road, is also closed. The transport agencies advised motorists needing to travel through the central North Island to use State Highway 4 instead, or to delay their journey. State Highway 5 at Te Haroto Summit remains open, but caution's urged because of volcanic ash. Now, police are sending search and rescue teams up to Mt Tongariro to check huts, but at this point there have been no reports of injuries or damage.
Some frightened residents have left their houses on the southern shores of Lake Rotoaira. They've told GNS Science of hearing several loud explosions, seeing lightning and plumes of smoke. Radio New Zealand listeners were among the first to report the volcanic activity in the early hours of this morning. A truck driver on the desert road, Bryn Rodder, saw orange flashes coming out of the volcano.
I could see the big cloud. It looked like a fist, basically, at an angle across the sky. And about the wrist section of the fist, there was an orange ball of flash that I saw. That was all I could see. And there were a few startled comments over the CB from various odd truckers that I could hear.
Mr. Rodder says the ash was very thick.
Very, very fine grey ash, and it's basically from the top of the passing lanes going up from Rangipo, right down to Rangipo itself, and it just gets thicker and thicker as you're getting down until almost Rangipo, then it trims out again. And it's so light that even slow-moving vehicles are just making big wakes of it, and it just blows straight across the front of it. You can't see through it.
The last time Tongariro erupted was in 1897. A spokesperson for Civil Defence, Vince Holeva, says people living in affected areas should stay inside.
When they're indoors, close windows and doors to limit the entry of volcanic ash. If they're caught in ash fall, wear a dust mask or a handkerchief to protect their nose and eyes and their mouth. Protect their eyes as much as possible, have goggles or anything like that. Listen to the radio for updates. Official updates will come from the civil aviation authorities at their local councils. Please don't tie up telephone lines with non-emergency calls. If areas are closed by police or local authorities, please stay out of them and don't go sightseeing.
In the air, planes are still flying, but some routes will change to avoid potential ash clouds. Earlier on the programme, Civil Aviation's Director of Meteorology, Peter Lechner, said the ash cloud was stretching away from the mountain toward the east coast.
So by about 9 o'clock this morning, we expect that plume to cover probably Gisborne, south through Hawke's Bay, perhaps into the northern Wairarapa. So air travel into those areas, namely Gisborne, Hawke's Bay Aerodrome, and of course Taupo Aerodrome will probably be affected by the ash.
The aviation warning code's been upgraded from yellow to red, and passengers are advised to check with their airline.